Hi everyone. Okay, so welcome to lecture 9 of your RSCI module. Today we are going to be looking at the assessment guidance using the template. Now some of you would have started using the template already, and that's fine. You've been encouraged to write as you go along. Today is just about making sure and reassuring you, most of all, that you have been putting things in the right places and you've been thinking about the sections clearly, and maybe I'll clarify some questions along the way now that you have been doing your interviews and collecting your information and doing your readings and thinking more broadly about how to put this piece together. So this lecture is dedicated to putting that assessment all together. What's in the session? So let's start off with, after this week, next week, you have 2 weeks of a spring break or Easter break up until April 20th. So you will not receive communication from me about RSCI or your other module until after spring break. This is about revisiting the template as a refresher. You have had this template from the beginning of the module, so you know what your final assessment piece is supposed to be looking like, what you should be putting together for it. So that way, this should not be a new document that you're seeing, and I'll show you where to find it if you have not downloaded it as yet. So this, I need to say, is a guideline for using the template. It is not an absolute, you must do this way only. It's a guideline because everyone's topic is different. And because your topic is different, you will need to use your discretion about what and how you want to express your information in each of the sections. I've always been supportive about students having autonomy and being able to take creative control of your assessment. This is not prescriptive in any way, shape, or form. You are not meant to just follow on the dotted line exactly what I say to the T. So keep in mind that the template, this particular lecture, is a guideline, not a need to follow handbook, okay? It's just telling you what you need to put where in terms of what we've covered in the module, how you want to express it, even how many words you want to use to express something, where you want to put references, which references, what types of references, journals, books, whatever. It's up to you, okay? So keep this in mind when you are proceeding, and if you've done something already and it seems wholly well put together and you're pretty confident and happy about what you've done, there is no need to go and restart the whole assessment again, just following the guidelines that I've given here. Once you know that you have met the aims and the criteria of putting the information together, then it's absolutely fine. So when you open the Word document, this is the first thing you see. You see the RSCI Investigative Portfolio title. Now, this has happened in the past where a student did not remove the gray components of the text. It's a little bit silly to say it, but just so you know, the gray sections here were just me writing in what you would be putting. So you are absolutely fine to remove the gray, turn the ink to black, and write your assessment. Give your project a title. So you can do something fun here. Give it a catchy title, an attractive title. What would you call your project at the end of it? What does it sound like? What should it sound like? How does it give the reader an indication about what this project is? Think of those things when you think of a title. And the first section is to introduce your topic, and we've done formative feedback on this already. And you don't want to give too much away in this section. Imagine you've picked a topic. We are not intimately familiar with your topic, so you've picked this topic. Why did you choose this topic? What have you read about it? Why is this important? So you get a nice little taster nugget of what you've chosen, why it's important to you. You can write it in first person, you can personalize it, absolutely fine. You need to put some kind of referencing in there about why this is a particular issue, social or cultural issue that is relevant and important in society. Absolutely, you can do that as well. So all of this should be contained in this nice little nugget of an introduction. You have reference section here to put your references in, and each section word count is excluding the references. So you don't need to count the words that you're putting in here in the final section. As you scroll down your Word document, you'll see you come to part 2. How are you preparing to undertake this investigation? What do you need to consider? Because it's a module on researching social and cultural issues, we need to see how you thought about the particular topic. So you will be including here approximately 260 words in each section. It's about 800 words here. So what are the ethical issues that arise? Think of your topic and think about the lecture. Go back to that lecture on ethics that we did. What are potential ethical issues that can come out from your particular topic? And as I said, all research topics have some form of ethics that need to be considered, need to be planned for. If you don't have a particular ethical issue that you can pinpoint directly, then tell me why ethics is important in research. There is some way to talk about ethics for this 260 words. What have you read about ethics? Include a reference in there. Why is it important? How can it be an issue that you need to consider in your particular project? Why use semi-structured interview? We did an entire session lecture as well on interviews and why semi-structured was perhaps better for this type of project than structured or unstructured. Find a reading on that, justify why that would be relevant. There is a lecture on that as well. What considerations or have you thought of to conduct the interview? Now, in this section, when you have to do the interview, it was about picking a quiet place and picking an environment where you can record clearly, making sure your phone is charged. Like, how did you plan to do the interview? What did you think about? Now, this is going to be interesting to write for some of you who have done the interviews remotely. That is, you're doing it on Skype or you're doing it on Zoom or you're doing it on the phone. You will need to talk about, well, what preparations did you take in that instance to prepare that you had a clear recording? How did you get the consent? If you were planning to give a paper consent form about the project, what are you doing differently to compensate for that if you are doing the interviews remotely? Are you giving consent, getting their consent before? Are you having a little bit of a chat before the interview? Date? What are you doing in place of that? If you're not doing that, this is an area to think about. Well, how did you think of making sure that you had everything prepared to do the interview? You've got the interview questions here that you write down. Note that the questions here are not part of the word count, that 800 words. The 800 words are only for those 3 questions above. This one, and this one, not this one. Okay? Section word count excluding references and interview questions. So you're only counting the word count for these particular sections here. Then you move on to this next bit here. What did you find in your investigation and how does what you found already fit in with existing research? So this section 3, now there was a typo in your original template where it says, the one that you would have, if you've downloaded it already, there's a little typo there that says approximately 1200 words. That's not right. This section here is not approximately 1200 words. There is no word count. This has been updated in Moodle. I will upload a template that removes that instruction from there. What this means is this section is to discuss thematic analysis. Why did you choose a thematic technique? So you are basically explaining what a thematic technique does here in your own words, all right? This section here, all of this entire section is not included in the word count. It's just to frame what you will be using to discuss the next section. So because you are not, you've done your transcript, you've done your interview, you have your transcript. You need to choose pieces of evidence from your transcript that you want to focus on to discuss. This is where you are selecting the evidence for the discussion. So you're giving a point. What's the point? That should just be a statement, not a paragraph. The points are a statement. This particular section is looking at feminism and body language, or this is looking at female role models in modern day society for young people. It's just a theme. Whatever your thematic analysis, this would be where you'd put the theme in there. And then the transcription evidence would be where you have selected pieces of evidence from your transcript itself. So there are 3 pieces. The third one's not included here because of the space on the PowerPoint, but there are 3 points that I've asked you to pick that you will focus your discussion on. Here is what you tell us what you found. So you are presenting exactly the data or the information that you will be discussing in the next section. Basically supplying the evidence, all right? This is to make it easier for us to read what you will be focusing on. This part, the discussion of the findings, is where the 1200 words are all about, okay? This is where you will be discussing what you have found. You show us how you think. So previously, you tell us what you found. Here, you show us how you think. What does that mean? This is the most important section of the assessment because it's 1200 words, so it's a very meaty section. Here, you have to link back what you got your thematic analysis. Think about, tell us here, well, show us here really, how this links back to what you've read in your literature, the current discussions in the scholarship about this particular issue. Do you have something that reaffirms that this is a problem, or consolidates that this is a problem? How can you think about integrating what you read with what you've found? That's what this part is about. Show us how you think about what you found. And right underneath that, you're going to see that I've put in an appendix interview transcript. This is also not included in the word count. This is where you type up your transcript. So you have the researcher, this is you, what you asked, and then the interviewee, you type up what they said. And you do this for the 5 questions. This is supplied at the end of the document, the same document that you'll be submitting. There are no multiple documents, just one document. So you put this here. This is evidence of your full transcript. Okay, you're showing us that you did the interview. Here it is, all recorded. This is how the discussion went. It's only 5 questions, or up to 5 questions, so I don't feel really bad about making you type that up because it's not that much additional typing. Remove any names. Remember, this is confidential and anonymous, so we should not be able to decipher who you interviewed when we read the interview transcript. So that takes us through what the document looks like. For your Moodle submission, for RSCI, it is only one document to submit. And when you go onto Moodle, this is what the section looks like. You would see here, that's your Turnitin link where you put in your document. If you get a higher Turnitin reading than normal, that is fine because everyone is using the same template. If you get a Turnitin link that is 70%, you have an issue. So if you are seeing, you will be able to see what your Turnitin score is. Make sure that it's not 70, 80% because then it means that a lot of your information, or from the 1200 words, particularly in the discussion section, is maybe too many quotes or too much literature. not too many references, but maybe too much discussion from the reference itself if you are using quotes there. So be careful about that. Most of you might get like a 30 or 40. It's fine because you are all using the same portfolio, okay? 40 is maybe a little too close to familiarity, but don't worry too much about the score. Once you have referenced everything and you don't have big chunky quotes, which you should not have, 50-word quotes in that 1200 word section. No, you shouldn't really have that, all right? Note your new submission date is May 21st before 2 p.m. So the dates have changed. It's no longer April 30th. Gives you a bit more time. And right underneath the Turnitin is where you will find the template that you can download, which is what I've just gone through. So I think that sums up as best as I can think about ideas of what your submission should look like, explaining the sections, what you might need to put in each of those sections. Again, this is a guidance, all right, not an absolution. So make sure that you are thinking about it in context of your particular project. What's next on this module? So we are near the end of the RSCI module. I'm supposed to have a guest lecture, not next week, sorry, it's supposed to be after the spring break, so that's not right, okay? With NGOs, I'm supposed to confirm this, given the constraints that we are having with the online recording and whatnot. I will request for that to take place, and I'll be in touch about if that can be organized or not. If not, because these are guest lecturers, I don't want to put the pressure on them to have to produce material. If not, and I can't get that uploaded online, this would be the last lecture for the module where we've gone through the assessment. So just keep reading your emails online. I will be in touch about if there's additional content or not. And be sure to contact your seminar tutors with any questions that you might have. So we are just an email away. It was very nice working on this module with Richard and Lisa and all of you. Be sure that you reach out if you do have a question, especially from this assessment lecture. Don't worry too much about the precision of the Turnitin report or the just follow the rules that you've been using all along the way and you should be fine. Hopefully this helps clarify as you're going along. Please use the student module section of the voice area on module itself. If you have something that you'd like to post to have a chat with the whole group, that would be fine. Or send us an email directly, that is also quite welcomed as well. So, on behalf of Richard and Lisa, I'd like to say best wishes. Have a very good spring break. I hope you are looking after yourselves. Be sure that you are getting your exercise, you are, you know, looking after family, you're eating well, you're eating healthily, and taking care of yourself. These are some interesting times, and it was very good, I think, that we started off covering a lot about the assessment and the module from very early on in this course. So hopefully that has been beneficial in terms of reassuring you of what we've been doing all along. So don't feel that you've been abandoned or left out in any way. This was exactly the kind of lecture I was going to give live and direct and in person. So it's good that you now have a recording of it and a capture of it. Be reassured that you've got all of the content that you need to proceed. The library links are up there, and a lot of this material as well can be searchable on Google Scholar and on some of the library databases that we went through for the education department on where to find readings and whatnot. So I hope everyone is all right. It'd be nice to hear from you. make sure stay in touch with your seminar tutors, and best of luck for this submission. If not, you'll hear from me after the spring break. I'll touch base anyway just to see how everyone's going. But take care, all the best, have a great week.